All right, we're going to do some of the homework problems starting on page 347. I'm going to start with number 1, where it says 30 plus 5y is greater than or equal to 4x. The instructions say that in order to graph the inequality using a graphing calculator, you've got to tell what function to enter for the boundary line, whether the graph should be shaded above or below the line, and if the boundary line is included in the solution. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we will walk through this as if we're not going to use the graphing calculator, and then we'll check and make sure we know what we're doing with the graphing calculator. It's probably the easiest thing. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is solve this equation so that it says y inequality sign and everything else. So I'm going to subtract 30. And then I'm going to divide everything by divide everything by 5. And I'm going to get y is greater than or equal to 4 over 5x minus 6, because 30 divided by 5 is 6. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to graph that. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. I've already graphed it. I'm going to show you what I did. All right, I started with my y-intercept, -6, and then I just looked at the slope. I went up 4 and over 5, up 4 and over 5. Really only need 2 points, but I got 3, and I'm going to draw my line. Now, before I draw my line, I'm going to go over here. This says y is greater than or equal to all of this. So when I draw my line, I'm going to draw a solid line because it does have that part that says or equal to. All right, so I have my line, but this is an inequality, so I need to figure out which side I need to shade. So I'm going to decide on a couple of test points. I like 0, 0 because that makes my life easy. And I don't know, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll do 0, 0 and 6, -6. Okay. I'm going to go back to the original equation. 30 plus 0 is greater than or equal to 0, and that is correct. So 30 plus 0, because I put a 0 in for y and a 0 in for x. 30 plus 0 is greater than 0. So it looks like this side is going to be my shaded side, but let's just double check with our other point. 30 plus my y value is -6. 5 times -6 is -30. So 30 plus a -30, I get 0 on this side, is greater than or equal to 4 times +6, which is 24. So 30 plus a -30, I get 0, greater than or equal to 24. That is definitely not a true statement, so this is not the side that I should shade. Okay, so you clean it up a little bit. This is your solution over here. All right, we're going to do number 3. You can deal with this a variety of ways, but I'm looking at that and I have fractions everywhere and I don't love dealing with fractions. So I think what I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to take this entire inequality and multiply it by 4. Why am I going to multiply it by 4? Because that is my biggest denominator. And if I multiply everything by 4, I can get rid of all of my fractions. So I'm going to do that real quickly. All right. So to get rid of fractions, I multiply everything by 4. 1/2 times 4 is 4 halves, -4 halves y. 3 over 4 times 4 is 3 times 4 over 4. 5 times 4 over 4. I just showed you guys kind of the intermediate step to sort of see mentally what's taking place. All right, so simplify -4 over 2. That's -2y. -3 times 4 divided by 4, that's just -3x. 5 times 4 divided by 4, that's just 5. So here is my equation. And then I am going to divide everything by 2, so that, or actually by -2, so that I get y and then the rest of the inequality. So all of this divided by -2. -2y divided by -2 is just y. Now, I'm dividing by -2. Remember, if I divide or multiply by a negative, I have got to flip the sign. Okay, negative 3x divided by negative 2 is going to be 3 halves x. The negatives cancel each other out. And then 5 divided by negative 2 is negative 5 halves, or just negative 2.5. Okay, and then I am going to graph. For this particular graph, I'm going to go by 2's so that I have a nice little grid line, even though something might be over 2. So like this will be, sorry, I'm not going by 2's, I'm going by halves. 2, 3, etc. Okay. All right, negative 5 halves is right here. That's my y-intercept. And I'm going to go up 3 and over 2. So up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. I'm going to draw my line. And right here, I am looking, that says greater than or equal to, so my line will be solid. All right, so there's my line, but I'm not finished because I've got to figure out which side to shade. Okay, usually if it's greater than or equal to, usually we mean to shade above. If it's less than or equal to, we're usually going to wind up shading below the line. But let's go ahead and test it. I'm going to test again with 0, 0, because that is really a pretty easy point. So that when I put in 0 for x and 0 for y, I get 0 is greater than or equal to, and this is 0, 0 is greater than or equal to negative 5 halves. That is a true statement. So I am going to shade on this side. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do these same 2 problems again with the graphing calculator. Okay, so what I have is our rearranged equation for number 1. Remember, it started out as 30 plus 5y is greater than or equal to 4, but we solved for y, and here's what we got. So I'm going to go to my calculator. Remember, we are putting in an equation, so we need to go to y equals. But actually, before we even do that, we're going to scoot over here, hit enter. I don't care that it's blue, but anyway, I'm going to go down here to the line menu. Nope, oops, sorry. And scroll through until I get the greater than or equal to. Okay, remember, this is your greater than or equal to. This is your less than or equal to. Okay, and remember, the calculator is not going to explain to you whether the line should be dashed or dotted. Okay, so I've got my greater than or equal to, so okay, and now I'm going to go back over there and enter my equation. 4 fifths, I'm going to put as a fraction. If I do that, make sure I put it in parentheses. Otherwise, it's going to think that the x goes in the denominator with the 5, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so 4 fifths in parentheses, x, and then minus 6. Window settings, that should be okay. Negative 10 to positive 10, and then hit the graph. Okay, so here's my line, and it is shaded above the line. Okay, which is basically what we got. Their x-axis is a little bit more stretched compared to their y-axis because their screen is not a square, it's a rectangle, but it's the same line. Okay, so we've done number 3 by hand, and we did number 3 on the calculator. Okay, so now I'm going to clear that, clear this, and let's do, sorry, that was number 1 we just did. Now we'll do number 3. Okay, so I need to go back over here and change. Do I need to change that? No, I don't need to change that because I still have a greater than or equal to, so that's fine. Enter, enter, enter. Okay, back over here. And again, I'm going to put 3/2 in parentheses because if you don't put it in parentheses, it's going to think that the x goes in the denominator with your 2, and you do not want that to happen. Okay, and then minus, and again, 5/2. I'm going to put it in parentheses. Okay. Ooh, I need a minus 5/2. Makes a big difference. Okay, 3/2 x minus 5/2. Again, window settings from -10 to +10 both ways. That should be good. And graph. Boom. Okay, once again, their screen is rectangular. My graph was a square, but you still have the same graph. So we've done it by hand, and we've done it on the graphing calculator. Okay.